It is Neo Geo time, guys. So not too long ago, we took a look at the AES multi-cart from Darksoft. And in that video, I had a lot of issues with this flash cart for the Neo Geo. It was kind of unfortunate from what I understand, what I'm being told anyway, which is making me understand this, is that I was sent the incorrect firmware. There was some kind of miscommunications with the chain of events on how this thing got to me, so on and so forth. So I do now have a more current firmware for it. We will be re-reviewing that product in the very near future. Now, I do have to say up front, I am pleasantly surprised with the new firmware, with how this thing performs. But at that time, when I first reviewed that product, it was available at that time for the public to purchase. So that's why I demonstrated what I could. I had to re-record that video multiple times to make sure it wasn't something weird going on, but it was what it was. So we will be taking a look at that again in the very near future, doing some comparisons, that kind of stuff. But like I said, I'm fairly surprised with it, with the current state that it is in. But today, that is being pushed to the side. What we are taking a look at is the NeoSD Pro. Yes, I finally got my hands on one of these bad boys, and this thing was damn expensive. Man, as you can see here, 549 foreign currencies, euros, translates to something over 600 bucks. With shipping to the US, cost me over $600. Now, I did have the original NeoSD, and I'm pretty sure we looked at that on the channel maybe multiple times in the past, and I love that device. And that was fairly expensive too, not quite as expensive as the Pro, but it kind of makes sense. With the Pro, there's a lot more stuff going on, a lot more features. It's a huge upgrade. So, okay, I could see the extra cost there. But I did sell my original NeoSD in order to offset the cost of this thing, because holy crap, that was a tough pill to swallow, right? But I really wanted one because they bill this as the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? So we're going to be taking a look at this, just seeing how it performs, seeing the user interface, just kind of testing it, giving you guys my impressions and thoughts on it. Now, I understand these flash carts are expensive as hell, man. For some people, this might be rent. Some people, this might be a couple months, a few months of car payments. I understand. But if you love the Neo Geo, that's why you're here watching this. If you have an AES or you're interested in one, that's why you're watching this. Because you know, if you're really into that original hardware for the Neo Geo, those games are expensive as hell. And we's all about options, even if they're kind of expensive. This isn't kind of expensive. This is damn expensive. But let's quickly take a look at the details on their website and then boot this bad boy up. The ultimate flash RAM cartridge for the Neo Geo AES. This does contain 4 slots of flash for persistent storing of your favorite games and 1 RAM slot for instant game loading. So a total of 5 slots you could play with. Contains a total of 3,840 megabits of memory to play every Neo Geo game, including hacks and homebrew. That's a huge one from what I understand. That's a nope with this one. But this one's also cheaper, maybe about $100 cheaper than the NeoSD Pro. So look into what you want to make sure you're getting what you want, right? But here we go. Expand Neo Geo AES hardware functions, allows region change, MVS AES mode, that is huge, jukebox mode, a bunch of cool stuff. So it's compatible with the original BIOS, any BIOS from any region, including the UniBIOS. But if you don't have a UniBIOS, you got access to those kind of features using this cart. So that is definitely a cool thing. Bam, ARM Cortex M4. We got all the information here. I will put a link to this in the description so you could check it out a little further. Currently out of stock, but from what I understand, they are working on getting more. And sometime in the future, maybe the distant future, the near future, I don't know. I'm not a future teller type person. I can't foresee the future for most things. But they should be, having that MVS version out there at some point. And I know the MVS version is going to be a hot item for sure. And you can expect whatever you're seeing here with the NeoSD Pro for the AES, it should be the same for the MVS version or fairly similar. So there is that. Now, the one thing before we pop this cartridge in, take a look at it. This does need you to have to register your cart on their website, create an account, download all the stuff you need. You do have to use a Neo Builder software to convert Neo Geo ROMs to be able to play on this. For me, Not an issue. I had a bunch of Neo Geo ROMs, threw them into Neo Builder, converted them, had zero issues. Every game I threw at it converted no problem at all. Popped them on the SD card and I'm using them. I did take the setup that I did with Neo Builder from my first version, the original Neo SD, and I popped it onto the SD card for this Pro version, and it worked just fine. So there is that. Not a big issue, but I'm sure there's ROM packs out there that are already set up for the Neo SD. If you need help, I don't know, but it was fairly easy for me to do. So let's go ahead and pop this thing in and take a look. So here we go. The Neo Geo booted up with the Neo SD Pro inserted into that slot. So loads up fairly quick. And here's the user interface. Should be fairly familiar if you have seen the Neo SD, the original version, in action before, but there will be a few things different. So I already have some games flashed, as you can see here, to the flash slots. I do have all 4 slots filled up. The RAM slot is empty because I just booted the system up. If you put something in that RAM slot, it will write it a lot quicker than if you flash a slot and it's instant access. Boom, you just start playing. Once you boot down, you turn off your system, it is lost. But your flash slots, whatever you put in there, they're just there and they instantly load. So it's going to vary for the game. Like I know, for example, the King of Fighters 2003 is 716 megs, the biggest game for the Neo Geo. And that game to flash to a slot takes several minutes, around 3 minutes to get it on there. I don't want to demonstrate that just because it's a waste of time. It takes about 3 minutes. Other games, if they're really small, they could take under a minute, medium size, over a minute, 2 minutes. It's just going to depend. But once you got them on there, they're there and you're good to go. So I really dig this because the original version with just 1 slot, yeah, it was cool having access, but that wait time of writing, erasing and reflashing, it's a little cumbersome, takes a little while. With this, it's a bit faster than the original Neo SD, so that is a good thing. But with those 4 slots, you got some options. For me, there's not too many Neo Geo games out there. There's over 100, as far as original release titles go, under 200 games. And I'm not going to want to, swap between all of them at all times, but having 4 games, that gives me the option to pick what 4 games I may be playing more, frequently than others. And then once I get bored with something, I could change it out. So definitely a lot more value for me than the original Neo SD. For some people, the Neo SD, the OG, a couple $100 cheaper than this version, and they may be fine with that. And I definitely, see the value with that. But this is just going to be a little more convenient to say. But let's go ahead and get out of that and look at some of the options. The options are fairly similar to the original version. You could filter, genre or your favorites. You could add favorites by hitting D. But with under a couple 100 games, for me, I don't really need to filter or do favorites. It's good, but that option is there. Now we do have an option screen. Boot mode, you can go to menu or game once you boot this up. I like to leave it to menu. That way I can mess around with some stuff, but you can have it just boot into whatever the first slot is. And then from there, you can mess around. I'll show that in a moment. In-game trigger, A, B, C, and start. That brings you back here. That's a good thing. Pretty sweet and useful. In-game menu, that is really useful. C and start gives you a bunch of options. Allows you to, swap between, slots to play different games. That's why, if you boot into a game, if you have the boot mode game, you can still easily swap between your games. So keep that in mind. Cartridge mode, I've never messed with this, but from what I understand, it's like if you remove the SD card and you have games flashed to the cartridge, you're good to go. You can just use it like it's a cartridge. So you could like flash like one game and just pretend like it's just an original game. I don't know. I haven't really messed with it. It's not really something that's useful for me, but I guess for people who would have like an arcade setup, with an MVS cabinet using an MVS version, that would be useful. That way people can't reflash things or mess with anything. You just have your game set and they can swap between them without being able to reflash. So there's that. Pretty simple stuff. So going through, it's the same as the original Neo SD. You have your game list, little icon below so you can kind of see what the game is, what genre it is, the developer, and the year. Really dig the style. I don't have any issues scrolling through this, nothing glitching out, nothing crazy going down, but there is that. So let's go ahead and boot into a game. You know, we'll do the RAM slot just so you can see that real quick. We'll throw Aero Fighters 2 onto the RAM slot. So it'll write it, and as you see, it's going fairly quick because it doesn't have to erase anything. It's just going to write to it and then boom, boot it up. So there we go, swapping over. We're in it to win it. Definitely cool that you can do that, and it saves a lot of time. If you have games already flashed and you just want to jump into something else and you don't want to reflash the slot, maybe you want to test something out. You're like, oh, I don't remember if that was a game that I liked. Boom, just go into that RAM slot. So there we go. I mean, we don't really need to demonstrate too much gameplay here. Everything works. I have played like probably close to 40 to 50 games, reflashing over and over again. And I've had no issues with games. I haven't had any issues with glitches or sound problems, nothing like that. It works as the way they said it should work. I don't know if there are any documented glitches out there, but this is for, you can upgrade the firmware. From what I understand, they do have some updates that should be coming out. So that is definitely cool. If people find issues with certain things and it's reported, they could fix it, put out a firmware update, so on and so forth. But so far, for me, I have not had any issues. So hitting start and C, boom, we get to the little in-game menu. So from here, you can load up cheats. You can go back to the user interface with the NeoSD menu and mess around, reflash some stuff, put, whatever you want to do. You can change the slot. You can soft reboot or hard reboot to your heart's content. If we go to change slot, boom, it's given us our options for our flash slots and our RAM slots. So let's go ahead and load up Samurai Showdown instant. The second you select whatever you have loaded, it just instantly loads as if it's, an original cartridge. So I really do dig that. Love this game, man. And this does look really nice with the setup that I'm using. I am outputting through the OSSC using SCART. Normally I don't use SCART on my Neo Geo, but I have it set up somewhere else on my other OSSC. So boom, it is what it is. But yeah, like games like this, like, holy crap, man. I'm not really paying attention here. This video wasn't so much about gameplay, but I gotta get a couple good slashes into that fool. But definitely a cool thing. This game, for example, is an expensive ass game. Holy crap. So if we hit start A, B, and C, takes us straight back to the NeoSD Pro menu. And very quickly too. No waiting. And our RAM slot is still there. So we could just jump right back into Aero Fighter. So as long as you don't turn this off, that RAM slot stays. Very convenient for messing around with stuff, because maybe you want to use that RAM slot to test a couple games. Maybe you don't remember, and you just like, let me boot it instead of waiting to flash it and see if it's worth flashing. So definitely a cool thing there. We can go right back into a game, Windjammers, boom, instantly loads up. We get into it. I am really digging this. Like I said, this wasn't so much of a gameplay video. I just wanted to demonstrate this, give you guys my thoughts. So with this cartridge being $600 and something shipped, holy crap, man, expensive. But for an AES person, you're either going to embrace flashcarts like I have, but I still, at the same time, with flashcarts, it's kind of strange. If it's a game that I really love, and it, up in this heart right here, there's a spot for the game, I kind of have to own the original cartridge, you know what I mean? Especially if it's a game I grew up with. Now with the Neo Geo, I didn't have an AES. I did play it in the arcade quite a bit, so I didn't own cartridges back in the day. I do now. I have a little collection of games, mostly games I really loved. Like, I have Samurai Showdown 1 through 4 for the AES on original cart. Don't have 5 special because it's an expensive game, but I still have to have those games. So for some people, they're either going to embrace it one way or another and see the value with a flash cart being able to have access to games. Maybe There's games they just want to keep on their shelf, or they have sealed copies of. I have a sealed copy of Samurai Showdown 3 for the AES. Don't want to open it. I could play it on this, right? I'm not really a sealed collector, but by some chance, I got a crazy deal on a sealed copy of Samurai Showdown 3, which, by the way, is the worst Samurai Showdown out of the series, in my opinion. But hey, leave it sealed for now. I could play it on this. So there's going to be tons of different circumstances where people either embrace a Flashcart or they just want to stick to the original cartridges. No matter which way you go about it, doesn't matter to me. You can emulate for all I care. I just like to talk about options. So don't be coming up in here saying, hey, Madlittlepixel, the dude whose channel started out with RetroPie building tutorials, and I still do that stuff occasionally. Why spend the money on this? We could RetroPie bro it up and just download the ROMs and emulate them. That is an option, but it's an option that we've talked about. We're talking about other things here. Some people want to look at this stuff, and that's what we're looking at today. Whatever your answer is, that's your answer. It's not the answer for everybody. So calm down and relax. I love RetroPie too. Look at the history of my channel, damn it. Like seriously, but there it is, guys. I'm digging this thing. I love it. I don't regret spending the money because I got, more than half of it paid off by selling the NeoSD, so I'm happy with that. I got my money back on the NeoSD and upgraded to the Pro, so definitely a big thumbs up for me. If you understand the value, you're into the AES, you don't mind flashcarts, definitely the best option out there for me at this moment. Now, there are certain things before we go with the Darksoft cart. The way this works, it does flash load quicker than the NeoSD Pro. And there's some things with the way this works that I really dig and wish it was the same with the NeoSD Pro. Like with this, you just choose which slots, you only have 3 slots, but you can select all 3, put a game for each, and then boom, just flash them all at once. Makes it a little more convenient, whereas this, you got to do one at a time. Not a big deal. Like I said, the Darksoft, it flashes everything a lot faster. It's a little cheaper than this, but this just has worked without a hitch for me. The presentation is great. The extra features of having 5 slots versus 3, boom, the value is there for me. I love it. Really do appreciate you guys. I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom. Bazai, Neo Geo.